and at least in the tempo that we had is you would go to the field, you come back, and then you might have what we would call a little downtime, like maybe going to the range and doing some training and things, but none of that even compared to when Grange came in. And so, I mean, we literally were loading aircraft, flying to Europe, flying to Korea, flying to South America, and coming back and cleaning gear and then loading the next aircraft and going again. It was just an unbelievable pace.
And by the way, when you say you got in an aircraft and flew somewhere, you jumped. Like you guys were just jumping in everywhere.
Yeah, that was not a commercial flight. That was getting into a C-141. And I love the C-17 today, but again, it's nothing compared to the 141 as far as comfort. The C-141, as you well know, was just a metal tube with a net, and we would pack guys in so tight. I mean, you were literally compressed, and you had your gear all stacked on you, and then you'd at some point, hours and hours and hours into that flight, you would have to make enough room to wiggle into your parachute, strap it on, and then hook up and parachute out. It was just an unbelievable experience. Unbelievable.
No doubt about it. You guys are pushing real hard, and you say this in the book. Invariably, during intense realistic training, there are accidents. In the swirling dust of Nevada that fall, B Company lost Ranger Sergeant Jeffrey Palmer, who was accidentally shot when he crossed into the fire of other Rangers. So you guys are pushing hard, live fire. There's another training mission you talk about, the Great Salt Lake. The trail aircraft of this formation was a U.S. Air Force Special Operations helicopter containing a number of key leaders, to include the U.S. Air Force Squadron Commander and the commander of the 1st Ranger Battalion, Lieutenant Colonel Ken Stouse. With Stouse in the helicopter was my commander from 3rd Ranger Battalion, John Keneally. Am I saying that right?
That's right, John Keneally.
John Keneally, there to observe and provide feedback, bringing up the rear of the tight formation, flying under night vision goggles. The U.S. Air Force pilots could not discern the causeway and struck it at over 100 miles an hour, causing the aircraft to crash into the lake, killing most of the U.S. servicemen on board. Miraculously, one of the U.S. Air Force pilots survived the crash, floating in the lake until he was rescued by legendary Ranger medic Doc Donovan. Donovan had been monitoring the exercise at a nearby Air Force base, waiting for the live fire to begin, but upon learning of the crash, he rushed to the water's edge. Seeing the burning aircraft about a mile out, he commandeered a tiny rubber boat and paddled through the darkness and frigid waters to the wreck in time to save the struggling pilot. Lieutenant Colonel John Keneally had not only been a commander but a mentor to many of the junior officers, and his loss was a hard one. These were not the only losses suffered in training by the Ranger Regiment that year. More Rangers were killed that year during intense training than most units lost in combat during Desert Storm. Yeah, pushing the envelope on that training.
Yeah, I think that says it all, and we were as careful and all that as we could be, but paramount above safety, and we were going to be practical and safe, right? But paramount above safety was we were going to be able to accomplish the task that we had to do in combat as realistically as possible. So there wasn't any, well, it's too dangerous to. If we had to do it in combat, we were gonna rehearse it, and unfortunately, tragically, you lose guys, and so that's what happened.
Yeah, there's definitely a very fine line to walk when you're in charge of training, and because you have to push hard, you have to make sure that the guys are ready to execute in combat. And when you're shooting live fire, you're flying out of helicopters, you're fast roping, you're parachuting, you're diving, like everything that you're doing, there's risk in every single one of those things. And you have to take some level of risk to train properly and be ready. Otherwise, you're going to go on the battlefield and you're not going to be effective.